So we are using Engage New York to supplement our curriculum because we've gone through the MyMath curriculum, and starting a new curriculum can be a little bit intimidating, and so I want to kind of walk you through the steps that you would take to plan a lesson in MyMath using what they provide, or in Engage New York using what they've provided. So these are the steps that I would say you would do when you're planning a lesson. 1, read through the whole lesson and do all the work. So first of all, just like get yourself very familiar with it. 2, rewrite the objective so it's child friendly. That's both an exercise for you in thinking how you're going to tell the kids what they're doing that day, but also then you will be able to share it with the kids in a way that they understand. 3, make bullet points for the concept development. So Engage New York is scripted and it has a lot of great ideas in one short little script. But you want to be able to draw out those ideas so that as you're leading your own discussion, you're not reading from a script, because that's not really how it's going to work. The kids won't necessarily respond the exact same way. Instead, you have these bullet points of main ideas you want to make sure you hit. Then you want to summarize the main idea overall that you want kids to get from the discussion. And then as you're doing all of that, just keep a list of materials and other necessary prep. So you're going to see as we go through, like you might decide, oh, this would be good on a PowerPoint, or I need to provide this grid paper, or they're going to need some other kind of tool, or I want to change this here. And you want to just make sure you keep that running list. Step 1 was to go through and read all of the information. And as you can see, once I've done, I have taken all of these notes. And I've also done the student work. And the most important thing here is that I wrote the student work out exactly the way I want students to write the student work. So I know what it is that I'm going to look for when I'm walking around and checking everyone's work and having little small conversations, but also even when I'm teaching, I know exactly what it is I want to see on their paper. Right? So I do that for the whole problem set with all of the notes, and I do that for the exit ticket. So Engage New York provides you an answer key, but really that exercise of going through it as if you were the student is incredibly valuable and incredibly important. The objective is to construct rectangles from a given number of unit squares and determine the perimeters. But I'm going to change it to students will be able to find all the rectangles with a certain area. That's the first objective. Second objective, students will be able to find the perimeters of their rectangles. We are not doing the fluency practice, so I skipped doing the fluency practice, and I moved to the application problem. Now in this case, when I read this application problem, since this is our first day with Engage New York, I really felt like this application problem isn't something the kids could just attack right away, and so I want to change this problem, and I'm going to make a note to myself to put it on a PowerPoint. So Rita says that since 15 is larger than 12, she can draw more arrays to show 15 than she can show 12. Is she correct? Model to solve. I'm going to change this to say, draw as many arrays as you can to make 15. Draw as many arrays as you can to make 12. Which number had more arrays? This way I'm telling the kids what they need to do to kind of answer the same question. And I'm starting a little post-it note of things that I need to get done, right? And here I'm going to say 1, the application problem needs to go on a PowerPoint. So I'm going to put this up on a PowerPoint and let the kids work on it and then discuss it. Next, I started to go through concept development, and just to show you what it looked like after I was done working. Like, I went through making notes along the margins, right? Kind of summarizing what I was reading. So here, right, it said, with your partner, use unit square tiles to build as many rectangles as you can that have an area of 18 square units. Shade unit squares on your grid paper to represent each rectangle you build and label the sides. I'm writing myself a note. Students at their desks. And I'm also starting to make a list. They need grid paper. They need square unit tiles, right? I'm reading through. Talk to your partner. Can you build any other rectangles with your unit squares that have an area of 18 square units? How can you be sure? I think we got them all. We're really just building arrays so we can think about multiplication facts. We can list all the factor pairs that make 18 when you multiply them. As I'm going through and reading here, the tip, write 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. I'm going to make myself a note that students need to be systematic. So they start with 1, then 2, and on and on and on. That seems to be the next teaching point. I give them this instruction, use the unit squares to build as many rectangles as you can, and then my next tip, I'm going to call that 1. My next tip is be systematic. So that's just to show you how I'm going through and picking out these main points. How can you be sure we found them all? We started at 1. This is just going more through the systematic. Which of these facts are related through commutativity? So here, 1 times 18, 18 times 1, if you ignore duplicates, that's kind of the next teaching point. The next teaching point is, right, not to double count. I'm going to summarize that way. Don't double count. This teacher said, which of these facts are related through commutativity? I could say which rectangles look the same, but that's kind of the next main idea in this thing. If you ignore duplicates, how many can you get? 3, check your work to be sure you found all the possible rectangles that you can make with your unit square tiles. Your 3 rectangles look different. How do you know they have the same area? I used 18 unit squares to make each one. As I go through, do you think our 3 rectangles also have the same perimeter? So that's my next kind of topic, right? Is like, do they have the same perimeter? So this is how I basically draw out the main idea, and then or the main parts of kind of what I want them to, or what I'm going to say and what I want to draw out of the discussion. The main idea in the end, I'm going to write that right here, the main idea is that rectangles with the same area have different perimeters. When I'm done going through that whole lesson and making all my notes, then I basically just put it all together on a Post-it note or on the front of the lesson. And I number it, like 1. I'm going to say to the kids, draw as many rectangles as you can out of 18 square units. 2, we're going to have a discussion. Be systematic. Start with 1, then do 2, then do 3, then do 4. 3, don't double count. So 1 times 18 and 18 times 1 are the same. That only counts as 1 rectangle. And then 4. Now let me show you how we find the perimeter of these rectangles. So that's like my main lesson, and I know that that's getting me towards my big idea, which I already wrote down. The last step is to really make the questions you're going to ask to kind of engage students more accessible. So I went through and annotated the text, and I've done my Post-it note with my 4 bullet points, but I'm not, and that's going to be with me, but then I'm not going to be able to kind of read through this script with the kids. So you've gone through, hopefully, and you've taken all your notes, and circled big questions that help you with your point, and then you just literally, I mean, it sounds very silly to have to spell it out, but you literally just say, like, summarize this question. If you ignore duplicates, how many rectangles can you build using these facts? I'm just going to write on a Post-it what if you ignore duplicates? And then maybe I even help myself and say, that means rectangles that look the same. So now I have this post-it note. It might be hard for you to read, but literally I just have this post-it note with this question, and then I'm going to have it on my overhead, and as we're having this discussion, I've got my main questions that I made sure. So I have my 4 bullet points for the discussion, I have my questions, I have the student work, I have the X's I've graded, and then I've kept this running list of all the materials I need, and so I'm ready to go. I can get those materials. When you are presenting to our group, the kinds of things we'll want to know is, what is a child-friendly objective? What are the main bullet points? What are the most important questions? How should we grade the exit slip? What kind of materials do we need? Kind of all of those steps summarized for us.